Welcome to End of Life Conversations and Reflections. Today, my guest is Selena Drake. She's a remarkable and inspiring woman, and you are in for a real treat today. After the death of her mother in 2016, Selena sought out various spiritual healing modalities to process her grief and find meaning in death. She was led on an amazing path of self-discovery and synchronicities, ultimately exposing her talent as an artist and a creator. Selena has been able to, as a result, channel and connect with her mom in the afterlife. She shares this incredible journey to herself in her book, The Accidental Artist. This book was delicious and heartwarming. I read it in one day, but I hope there's a part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because it was just amazing to read about her journey. This synergy of art and spiritual healing for Selena gave birth to what is known as the intuitive healing arts. Selena specializes in fluid, painting, and acrylic pour abstracts, resin artwork, and unique gift items inspired by nature and spirit. These are truly one-of-a-kind, magnificent creations, and she infuses all of her expressions with Reiki. So if you're attuned to energy, you will not only see her beautiful work, you will feel it. Selena also has 6 murals at the Royal Columbian Hospital. So if you're ever there, look out for Selena Drake's murals. And if you're interested in a unique experience with her pour paint class, a link to her website will be posted below. Selena's art is at art exhibits, retail stores, holistic spas, medical clinics, artisan markets, and galleries. And not just that, a book is available in stores and will be available on Amazon August 25th. And then it's also going to be available in 160 countries. So I am so excited to have this conversation with you, Selena. Welcome to End of Life Conversations and Reflections.
Well, thank you very much, Zara. I mean, you're amazing doing the work that you do. I'm very appreciative of having gone through my journey with both of my parents. And I think it's just such a gift to be able to help someone cross over. So, what you do is amazing. And so, thank you very much for having me on this interview to share my story.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure and delight. So we're going to start with, I know your recent experiences are expressed in your book, and I want to talk a lot about that. But we'll go back to when you were a child. Was there an experience with death and dying that you remember that you want to share? Or were most of your experiences when you were an adult with death and dying?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I didn't have the first person that was close to me that ever passed away was my father. So that was a shock. But as a child, I mean, I grew up in a Christian household. So it was, I knew as a child, I was explained that when you died, you go to heaven. And that was a place that we couldn't see. But, when we prayed and got on our knees and prayed, that we would pray to God and that we hoped that we would be in heaven one day. So sort of that was as far the extent of my understanding of death. Now, obviously, as I got older and I did have, relatives that passed away and that, I started thinking about it a little bit more like, really, is there a heaven? I don't know. Like, is there anything different than what we have here on this earth and our experience here? So that sort of, it wasn't always a curiosity. I was always interested in metaphysical, I guess, exploration in terms of spirit and numerology, astrology, all those things. I was curious about reading, obviously about, with our horoscopes and fascinated with that, but didn't really, I guess, really had an understanding till recently when I went down the spiritual path when when my father died, and then more so when my mother passed away in 2016. That was a real jolt because she left me a gift. I think what she did was create a portal for me to connect to the other side and to be able to share that with the world. Yeah. So just the background is I was in the corporate world all my life. I had a corporate career in business equipment, and I never ever thought that I would ever become an artist ever. I
Right.
drew people. As a child growing up, I loved music, so I took piano lessons and all of that. And I thought, if anything, that was as far as my artistic talent went, was in the music world. Never would I've imagined, if you told me then, or even 4 years ago, 4 years ago, that I would become a bona fide artist. I would have just thought that was ridiculous. I would have laughed, right? So, how that all came about really was when my mother passed away, and she died of cancer. And it was, at the time I was 55 years old, she was 77. And it was very tough because she asked me to help her with her death. She wanted to die at home. She
Okay.
didn't want to go to a hospice. She didn't want to go to a hospital. She wanted to die at home after she got the diagnosis. And I honestly did not know what that would look like. So
Yeah.
I said yes, and I took some time off work to be with her and help her. And very quickly, she resorted to being in a hospital bed where I had to overnight, like literally take care of her like a nurse. I had to feed her, wash her, administer her medications right up until the end when she passed away.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that went on during that time frame. Obviously, you're kind of going through grieving at the same time. You're trying to help her with all of that. And during that time, I because she was so close to the other side, I could feel the spirit world through her, which was amazing. And I also got to see through her eyes um, what honestly what living was about. It's funny that we learn about living through dying, right?
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so it was very interesting in that she taught me to be in the moment, to give gratitude for literally every breath that we take in this on this earth plane, to appreciate everything around us. When she looked at flowers and the trees, it was with true gratitude from her heart. She could see the beauty in things that I think that we only see when we're dying or we take the time to see. And so she really left me with that gift. And also, I wanted to know if the other side existed, if heaven existed. So we made a pact.
Yeah.
And I said to her, Mom, I really want to know if the other side exists. So when you cross over, can you come back and talk to me? And she said, you know what? If I can, I will for sure.
Yeah.
We'll try. Because her and I both did believe, we believed at that point that there was more than what's in this life, right? Although I
Right.
didn't truly all understand that, but I that was my intuitive feeling. So when she passed away, about 4 months later, I went to see a medium, and the medium immediately connected me with my mother. My mother came through loud and clear, and we had made a pact and said that we were going to mention some things that would obviously validate that she truly was on the other side. And those validations were just like screaming out. So I really walked away with comfort knowing that one, my mom was in a better place, um, that we're really here to live a life of that we can co-create, and we can make that anything that we want it to be, to live a fulfilling life, to help others, to be of service to others, and to share our gifts. At that time, I didn't know that I could paint, had no idea that that was kind of through my gift, right? So of course, when she passed away, I was in deep, deep grief. I didn't know whether I was coming or going after, we had planned her funeral and obviously worked through all the legalities of her state and everything was sorted. Afterwards, it was like, you kind of take a deep breath and you go through waves, like I'm sure most people do when they lose a loved one, is you go through waves of grief. So
Yeah.
some days you're a-okay, and then for whatever reason, something will trigger you, and the next minute you're just bawling your eyes out. And that kind of happened with me, and both with my dad as well. With my dad, he passed away at 66 when I was 44. It's all these repeating numbers.
Yeah. I wanted to
Um,
ask you about that. Yeah. The numerology.
yeah,
Yeah.
and him and I were very, very close, and it was very much a shock because he was so young when he died of a heart attack, and his was different in that he went very quickly and very unexpectedly. And physically, I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I actually felt physical pain, like someone had put their hand in my heart and ripped it out. And I went through that feeling, of course, I was being the oldest of four children and my mother in deep grief. I had to plan his funeral and I'd never done anything. That was the first time for me. So it was going through the motions. And afterwards, I kind of just fell into a deep depression, really deep depression. And what gave me hope was I accidentally met the medium who I actually were channeling my mom for the first time was through him. It was by pure accident. I met this lady named Julia King, and it was just about, supposed to be a fun reading actually that I bought for my sister, but somehow I ended up having a reading out of it. And I felt like I spent an afternoon with my father through that reading. And that really sort of gave me hope that, gee, we can connect with people from the other side. I
Yeah.
didn't know for sure until after mom, but it gave me hope because I was still at that point kind of curious and kind of wasn't sure really. I was skeptical about it.
Yeah.
But obviously afterwards, when I had my reading with mom, that cemented it for me for sure. But that I knew through this experience of both of their deaths that truly there is the other side that we can connect with, and they get to guide us from
Right.
the other side, which is such a beautiful thing. I know they're guiding my children,
Yeah.
and they're guiding me in my life with where I'm going. So after I fell into obviously a deep grief after mom died, I started signing up for workshops to help heal with that. And that's how the whole spiritual journey started. And it was by pure accident that I was, working at the time in sales, and I was actually out of town for a business trip. And what came up on my Facebook was this lady was doing a healing circle. And I thought, wow, I sure could use that healing circle after what I was been going through with my mom and the trauma of her death and that. And it turned out that that healing circle was literally in Langley in my backyard, like literally 2 minutes down the road from where I live. So I felt that I needed to be at that healing circle. So I showed up for it, and it was the first time that I'd ever been exposed to anything like that. And it was super interesting. There was a medium that she was also a therapist, a hypnotherapist. So she does past life regressions, and she wrote a book called Mystical Intimacy. Her name is Linda Nardelli. And she did this amazing healing circle that I had never ever experienced before, where she was giving healing to a lot of the people in the room. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. But it made me sort of consider that route, going through meditation, learning about things. Anyway, so the next time I went to a meditation was with a lady named Teza Shalsita, which Zara, you interviewed her on your show. An amazing Akashic Records teacher, and I went to I was invited to a full moon meditation out at TAPS, this store out in aromatherapy store out in Fort Langley, and I bought one of her books, and she came in, and I completely connected with her, and had my first experience with a Akashic record meditation that day.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of it all. After I was invited to Teza's crystal workshops, and I found out that, gee, we have crystals that can heal, and I'm always with my little crystal here. I don't can't see it there. Um, I use it for meditation and for guiding and as well, and for channeling.
Yeah.
So I did Akashic records. I did crystal readings as well as Reiki. So what happened was through meeting Teza in one of her workshops, one of the ladies that showed up in our class was a Reiki master, and I had no idea what Reiki was.
Yeah.
And Teza's like, we need to take her class. She's offering a class. And then I found out later that she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, but she obviously had something to teach us. So I jumped in, signed up for the class, didn't know what Reiki healing was all about. And I thought, well, before I take the class, maybe I should have Reiki done on me. So for all those people out there who don't know what Reiki is, it's basically energy healing. And we're used that the Reiki person or the practitioner is sort of like the conduit to direct the energy, and it's the energies for healing. And so, anyways, I took a Reiki session for myself through a lady named Stephanie Brown, and who's this lovely lady who owns Infinite Serenity, a wonderful holistic spa near my place. And she did this amazing session. I've never experienced anything like that before, and I've written my experience in the book. And the weekend after, I guess because it opened up something for me, A friend was doing pour painting, a tutorial on Facebook. I saw it. I thought, well, this is kind of cool. I'm going to try it. So I did. Went out to the store, bought a bunch of supplies, and started and watching a bunch of YouTube videos as well, binge watching some YouTube videos. And I started creating these beautiful abstracts. And because I was sort of in a meditative state doing it, and I was taking this Reiki class along with it, I started to connect with my mother and I started to channel her. And she was in my head telling me what colors to lay down. And on top of that, when I looked at the abstracts when they were finished, there were things in the abstracts like faces and animals, and it was just the vibration of it was amazing. So you can imagine how excited I was to experience that. I wanted more and more of it. So, anyways, long and short of it, I created 40 paintings in 6 weeks.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was going to do with these paintings, but I was just in the joy of creating it and connecting with my mother.
Yeah.
And shortly after, Tessa said that they were doing a community event called the Om Healing Community Event, where all these energy healers and people that sold crystals, all these vendors would come in and share their spiritual gifts. And it was kind of like a bit of a festival, a conference for over 2 days. And she invited me to have a table there to show my art. And I thought, that's nuts because I'm not an artist. I just created this. And she goes,
Yeah.
well, you put Reiki energy in it, and it'd be fun to just come in and support the community. And I wanted to do that. So I signed up for it. So I did. And a couple very interesting things happened at this conference for me that sort of, I mean, I just went for the fun of it. I had no intentions of ever being an artist because I was just pouring paint and creating abstracts. But I met the first lady that I met there who was very interested in my painting and bought my painting. She's a Reiki master herself. She felt the energy in my paintings without me saying anything. And I thought, wow, okay, this stuff really is validated. Like, I added Reiki energy to my paintings and someone actually felt it, right? And I had incredible positive response from this show or this 2 day conference. People were looking at my paintings, and to be honest, like we all know art is very subjective, and depends. Some people like it, some people don't. But I was getting a lot of positive response on my abstract paintings. And then a lady came up to me and said, I have some messages um, from your mother. Would you be interested in hearing
Oh
about
my
it? So I got
goodness.
all these messages that were crazy. My mom was kind of going nuts over the 2 day conference. And one of the intuitive readers really liked one of my paintings. And I felt like quite a connection with her. So I said, why don't we trade a reading for one of my paintings? And she agreed. And so she did a reading for me, and she told me I was going to be an artist. And I laughed at her. And I
Right.
said, no, this can't be true because I just started this. I just poured a bunch of paint on a canvas and I switched it around to make these abstracts. In no way am I an artist. I do stick people, and I don't even know how to paint with a brush. And she goes, but you
Your mom
will.
was an artist though, right? I think you mentioned.
She did it as a hobby. She did it as a hobby, and she took up oil painting before she passed away. So I do have a couple of her paintings. They were very small, but she wasn't really an artist in terms of putting herself out there. It was
Yeah.
just a hobby for her, right? But she was very artistic, very incredible, and I didn't think I would have. I didn't think I inherited that gift from her.
Yeah.
So she said through this intuitive reader that I would be an artist and that I need to get a studio and that all these things would be happening with my art. And I laughed at her and I said, I don't even know how to paint with a brush. She goes, but you will. You will learn. And in a few years, you're going to be traveling and you're going to be painting and you're going to be teaching it. And I laughed at her again. I said, teaching, are
Yeah.
you kidding me? So she was telling me some things at that time where I just couldn't believe it. I was so skeptical. But I mean, in hindsight now, it's like everything she said came true, right? It was unbelievable. So the part that really got me was when she said, you know what, your mom says that you're going to be doing this and you can't stop. And she goes, this is not just a hobby. You can't stop because if you stop, she's going to kick you up your arse. The lady was going to use it. Kick you up the arse with her red high heel shoes.
Yeah.
And I just stopped and I looked at her and my eyes went big and I went, what did you say? And she goes, She's going to kick you up your arse with her red high heel shoes. I don't know what that means. Do you? And before my mom passed away, she had a date, a gentleman friend that she was going to go on a date with. And she just got off her chemo, or sorry, radiation. She was going to start her chemo. So she wanted to go in between. And we were at the mall picking up something for her, and there was a shoe sale at the Bay. And we walked through there, and she found these cute red sandal like high heel shoes. And I said, Mom, you should get them because, her friend was quite tall. I said, be perfect for your date. So she bought them and she came to my house all dressed up the night that she went for her date. And I took pictures of her and it was very lovely. She looked so cute. And when she passed away, I kept her red high heel shoes because that was, nobody, it didn't mean anything to anyone, but it meant something to me because in the moment that I went with her and bought the shoes and all of that, right?
Wow.
So when that came up in the reading, I mean, there's no way this intuitive reader would have known anything about these red high heel shoes at all. And so when that came up, I thought, wow, okay. But even that, you kind of go, okay, that's cool. Maybe I will be an artist. I don't know. Like I didn't put a lot of thought into it. But I think what it was I was open to the synchronicities of the universe. I
Yeah.
was open. And within a couple of weeks, there were so many things, coincident, not, I guess I call them divine synchronicities that
Yeah.
led me into becoming an artist. And it's in my book as well, how that all happened. But yeah, long and short of it, 6 months after, I picked up a brush. I started painting subjects and landscapes. Within a year, I was invited to festivals and galleries. So today, I have artwork in galleries. I have recorded galleries now to put my artwork in. My skill set, I took a drawing course. My skill set has probably improved dramatically from 3 years
Yeah.
ago when I first started pouring paint on a canvas. But for me, it's about the experience. It's just when I teach pour painting in workshops, anybody can pour paint. You can go on YouTube, you can look at the videos, anybody can do it. But my pour painting classes are an experience. It's an experience. We start
Yeah.
off with a meditation, a short meditation. We teach you how to set a sacred space because that's what I do before I paint. We write beautiful intentions into our canvas. We use essential oils. We light candles. We smudge before we do it. We spray beautiful, essential oils. And like I said, some of the candles that we use have beautiful vibrations in it. And I use also Reiki candles from a friend who does that and creates that. We pull out cards. Sometimes we'll pull out cards. We'll watch Cheryl and I. Cheryl's one of my painting besties, and she does the workshops with me. She's a very good friend that I met through my spiritual journey. And her and I will either watch something that makes our heart just break open. It's either something that's really funny or something that we just cry because we were just so in love with what we saw. And that I think that is truly the state that you need to be in when you're doing any sort of creating, because it's your soul expression from your heart. So I think my mom, through her death, was guiding me from the other side to do this. And I guess if you want to read my journey of an accidental artist, that sort of more or less explains that. But it's about when I got to the end of the book, it really, I guess, in a nutshell, what this interview is um, about death. What do you think about death before you go? Having based on your experience, what would you do? And for me, I would love to leave a legacy for one. It's kind of like my imprint here on this earth as well, and to inspire others to live a very fulfilling life. That's huge for me. That we are all co-creators of what our life is, and we don't want to go with any regrets in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And if we can, that's some of the things we don't want to wait until we're ready to die or know that we're dying to go, gosh, I wish I had done this or I wish I had done that. Like,
Yeah.
please do it while it's all about, I think death teaches about living. And I think we got to live to the fullest and be happy. And, whatever happiness looks like for you, I think that's our kind of our goal is to be happy before we cross over to the other side. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Thank you for sharing the entire experience with us. You mentioned that your mom, obviously, you were communicating through a medium and you were going and getting messages from other people. But I get a sense that now you're able to tune to her yourself directly.
Yes.
So, have you had a recent experience where you're like, that's my mom? I know I don't need to go to a medium. Like, it sounds like you've tuned yourself up and are able to now pick it up on your own because of all the work you've done.
Yeah, for sure. That sort of came as the process through my artwork. Of course, signs and symbols from the outside is the first thing, right? Like yesterday, out of nowhere, I'm in a restaurant with my best friend, who's very close to my mother too, who was very close to my mother, and we were sitting there inside a restaurant, not outside, inside a restaurant, and a giant dragonfly starts buzzing around us. It was huge, and I actually took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook. This beautiful turquoise dragonfly, uh, dragonfly, and it literally hovered over us. And I looked at my friend. I said, "That's mom," because I
Yeah,
could feel it. That's mom.
yeah.
I've had many signs and symbols of from the other side, but I also am able now to communicate with my mom. And I can literally hear her voice in my head, especially when I'm really tuned in. And I ask her, for her guidance, what would she do? And sometimes I'll go to do something even, and her voice pops in my head, like, do you really want to do that? Or she'll make me laugh because my mom was she had a great sense of humor. She was very vibrant. And so she would say something that would make me laugh and sort of put some levity in things. So yeah, I'm very connected with my mom on the other side. And recently I was with my dad, and there was a gap where I wasn't really communicating with him, maybe because I wasn't in the state or I didn't understand it. But lately, he's really shown up for me. A lot of it is through numbers. I associate the number four with him, and I will wake up at 4:44 a.m. or look at the clock, it'll be 4:44, or there'll be receipts with numbers on it that's 4:4, and I know it's him, and he's asking me to pay attention to certain things. So I am really communicating with my father, and he is also helping me write my book, or he helped me write my book, because I would go to sleep at night and ask for guidance, and the next day it would just flow automatically what I wanted to write. And when my
You wrote it
editor,
in 6 weeks, right? I mean,
I
hello.
wrote it in 6 weeks. I wrote
Six
it in
is
six.
also a common number. You've said six many times, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 months.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of synchronicity there, and even my editor, when she went to edit my book, during that one of the chapters, she looked up at the clock and it was exactly 4:44, and she said, "Is your dad here?" And I said, "Probably." So it's when you get what my husband called there's constant coincidences, but it's to a point where it's coincidences with a meeting and you know that there's intention, and for me that I call that divine synchronicities.
Yeah.
It's guidance from the other side that I cannot explain. It's like these incredible random beautiful magical moments that happen in life, and I
100%.
cannot explain it. It just happens all the time. Every day I write about it. It happens all the time. Yeah.
So
Oh,
my
and
question to you is, sorry, go ahead.
no, I said even meeting people. I met a lady who was on the book course with me when I wrote for 6 weeks this book, and I randomly showed up. She lives out of town. I went with my son to look at a piece of property with him just for the day. It's in the Okanagan. People know where that is. It's from Vancouver. It's 4 or 5 hour drive. Randomly, I went to a pub with the real estate agent and my son, and this lady looks over at me when I'm ready to leave and asks me, "Are you Selena Drake?" And I said, "Yes." And it turns out she was a lady in my course, in my Zoom course when I wrote this book. So what are the chances of
I
that
know,
happening?
right? Yeah,
Connections.
so there are no coincidences. Everything has a purpose, and you're not an accidental artist. You're intentional. Like, you're meant to be an artist. It's no accidents. That's how I look at it, but I love the title of your book. So where is your mother now? Like, if you were to say, okay, like, I know it's hard to articulate, but I always ask this question, where do you think she is now? And where are your parents now? Are they here? Are they there? Where are they? Where's heaven? Where are they?
Yeah. So, I guess people have to use some sort of reference. And for obviously some Christians, they might say it's a heaven or a nirvana or whatever it might be. I feel it's just a different dimension. It's where our soul is energy. When our physical body, our vessel, you know, dies or
Okay.
terminates, our soul lives on, our energy lives on in a different form. And so that energy, I believe, is in a different dimension. And so through that dimension, they can feel us, they can connect with us, and they know we're here. They know, but they have to let us live our life and our experiences on this earth plane until it's our turn and we're ready to cross over to the other side. I do believe in that. I do believe in reincarnation.
You believe in
I,
reincarnation? Yeah.
I do
Your
believe
mom would
that.
come back as a human being, and which
Well, that and I'm really not sure. My understanding is they do come back as human beings if they've already left this life as a human being. I don't know if that for sure. They, maybe they come back as a pet. I don't know, but I do know that we are all so connected, and I describe that in my book. We are all so connected. So when we leave, we come back almost like together in groups
yeah,
and we meet each other again and in one life or another we cross paths, right? And we know this because intuitively one of the examples I use in my book is just meeting my husband. My
yeah,
husband and I are two very different people. You would have not picked us from a crowd to ever have we've been married for over 32 years,
yeah.
but when I met him, when he met me, we both knew. And there was a comfort level that I can, it was like I knew him from a past life. Like both of us were like, wow, this is like crazy. It was so natural. It felt so comfortable, like we'd known each other. And I'm sure a lot of people out there feel that. They've bumped into someone and go, wow, or made friends with someone that they're like, I feel like I've known you all my life, right?
Yeah.
Like you're more like a sister to me. And it's probably because you were in a past life, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you wrote
And
in your book, a soul teacher incarnates with you, and through each other's challenges and experiences help your soul grow and evolve during your time here. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, so I truly believe in that. Truly believe in reincarnation, and that. So there's more to this life than just like our three. Like where we're here. I get what do you call it? 2D, three. It's more than just us physical being here. There's more to us. There
Yeah,
is an energy. There is a different dimension. So that's what I believe. And I guess we won't know until we get there, but I
yeah,
don't think it can be described like on Earth, right? So I think that's why, as human beings, we have a difficult time describing what it would be like, unless you had a near-death experience.
yeah.
And I have met a couple, actually, funny enough, which is kind of weird. I know I think more than two people now that have had a near-death experience where they actually died
Yeah.
and came back. And when I've asked them to tell me what their experience was coming back, they've been the same. And then when I've watched it on YouTube, I've done a little bit of research on
Mhm.
that because I was curious. And many of them have very similar stories when they come back to this human form. Yeah.
What do you hope happens to you when you die?
Well, when I cross over, I'm looking forward to meeting my soul family on the other side who will be waiting for me. That I'm excited about that. I believe that there's no suffering on the other side. We will be all knowing. Um, well, in all timelines and everything will just it would just be a very beautiful, beautiful space to be in. I believe that we're all beings of light. We're just here for a human experience. Some of
Yeah.
it's very difficult, and I've had my difficulties in my life as well. It's not been, perfect, right? And I think these difficulties teach us. And a lot of master healers in this lifetime have gone through horrendous backgrounds, but I guess in order to teach, you have had to do that walk, right? Yeah. But when we get to the other side, it's all beautiful, I feel. Um, so yeah, but
Fears, like, do you have any fears around your end of life journey? Like, or yeah, like you seem really positive about
mhm.
dying and death, and it sounds like a really beautiful experience. Like if someone was afraid of dying, if they listened to you, they'd be like, wow, I shouldn't be afraid. But do you have like fears that you haven't like talked about?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure if they're fears, but this is what I prefer. I prefer not to have a slow death. I watch my father go quickly. I watch my mom go slowly. And even that, my mom really, I mean, it was like all in all, probably 6 months, right? But when towards the end, the last 2 weeks before she died, it was very painful for her to watch her take her last breath, really. Although I wasn't really the right of that, but when she went into a coma and was doing the death rattle and that. So for me personally, the conversations I've had with my husband is one, if I ever get to that point where I'm nearing end of life, I want to be put in a hospice. I do not want to burden my family with having to look after me because it's just people don't realize the trauma that you go through and what is actually involved physically when you're dying. It's very, very tough. So I would like to be put in a hospital. I would hope that I go quickly. I would, if you know, if the universe asked me, Selena, how would you like to die? I would rather go of a heart attack or something, go quickly and not know it, as
So my
opposed to having.
question then is, when people die and they've had a heart attack, like that's how my dad died. It was really
Yeah,
hard on everyone else. So I guess the message here is if you want that, then make sure that in your lifetime that you've had all the conversations, that nothing will feel to the people you leave behind unsaid and undone, right? That's the
absolutely.
real lesson about that, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. But aside from the, any fears in terms of crossing over at all, no, I don't. Not after having gone through the spiritual journey and going through, which was a gift that my mom gave me before she left this world. My purpose here is to, to live a fulfilling life, to leave a legacy for my children, to inspire them to be the best that they can be in this lifetime as well. That we don't have any, like you said, words unsaid or have any regrets before we cross over. But aside from that, in terms of the physical part, like I said, I would rather go quicker than not. And I do highly recommend to everyone, like, please leave instructions. You never know when you're going to go. To leave instructions to your loved one, what you want. Like, do
Yeah.
you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you want a celebration of life? Right? Just to even have some of these are tough discussions. I know for some of the older generation that views death as, oh, we don't want to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But it is very practical for the people that you leave behind, that you make sure that you leave instructions, that you make sure that you have the health care that you need towards the end of life, that you do not leave that with your children or, any members of your family that's not ready to do that with you or do not have that understanding. Yeah.
For me, as someone that has been there for people that have died, I always say, you know what? Have those conversations when you're well. Have those conversations when you're not ill. You're not dying, so it's safer to have those conversations and easy. It should be easier, but my experience is people still won't have those conversations even when they're in that phase. So how do we start those conversations and normalize them and have them regularly while we can? Because also when you're in that phase, you don't have the energy and the capacity to be able to deal with everything when you're dealing with all your physical symptoms, right?
Yes.
So you having conversations with your husband around what you want. Like, isn't it so much easier to have that conversation while you're feeling well, while you're not really dealing with your end of life journey? But people find it so difficult. They feel like if I don't talk about it, that's better. But I think you're right. I think have those conversations, keep those instructions, and have those conversations. It's not a one-time conversation. It's an ongoing conversation about death,
Ongoing.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
talking about death every single day, if you think about death every single day, I don't know, someone had a quote that if you think about death every single day, you will make different decisions, you will live a better life.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because
So,
you know that, uh, every breath is precious, right? Life is precious, and
yeah,
that you got to make the most of it. You can't take it for granted. And I think that's what, we go with our everyday life. We take things for granted, and then we forget until somebody, like something tragic happens, or
yeah,
that will see it, or something happens to us, like, some awful diagnosis or something,
yeah.
then you realize, oh my gosh, and then you don't want to get to that point. If you are diagnosed with something that makes you really ill towards your end of life, that now at that point you can't travel or you can't do all the things that you want to do, right? So please do it while you're healthy and you're alive. And yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, which is exactly why I want to have these conversations, is so that people feel like it's a familiar conversation. It's okay to talk about your fears. It's okay to talk about your hopes. It's okay to talk about these things so that, you know, I find that it can sort of paralyze people, right? In a position where then there's so much said and undone. So I really, really, really love your book so, so much. And thank you so much for having this conversation. What I do want to do is when we post this, I want to have links to your Amazon, how to order your book and your website. But if you could
Sure.
just tell us where your website, that would be really great right now for the
Yeah, so it's Selena Drake Art .com. Very easy, SelenaDrakeArt.com, and you'll see my name on the book behind me.
people.
So it's all one word, SelenaDrakeArt.com, and so you will. I have actually pictures that correlate with my story on the journey of adventure.
Yeah,
There's
beautiful
a
pictures
tab
too.
there. Yeah, so they'll all be in full color, and the ebook that's coming out will be in full colored pictures. But obviously, for the printed versions, I had to do black and white in the middle just to keep costs down. But still, beautiful vibration, and it just makes sense when you see the paintings that I've done with my journey. But at the very end, I guess the last words is, it is not about the end, just like my paintings, it's not the end result of the painting. It is about the journey. It's about seeing art with your heart. And that's life, right? Is to see with your heart. We need to feel that. For me, the gift was the art, but the journey is the purpose. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like finding ways to emote and express yourself. There's so many different avenues, explore them. And
Exactly.
like for you, because you were open and you wanted it, they kind of came to you, right, as well. So they will appear, your teachers will appear when you're
Absolutely.
ready.
And so it's not like in my case, it was about the art, but for some people, it might be something different. And it might be just supporting, not everybody's out there to, stand in front of people and chat. I get that. For some people, they want to support others in a quiet way, and that's good too. Is wherever you're called to do whatever that it is that you're good to do. To hold space for people, that's super important, right? I have friends that want to do kind of what you're doing, Zara, which is, being there helping someone cross over, being a death doula. And I think that is such an admirable, role to do because not that many people are doing that. And it's just so needed. I mean, we have birth, doulas out there, but we don't have any death doulas, really, not a lot. And I believe after seeing my mom go through, we sure could have used someone like you to
Well,
help us.
you were the doula. I think you were the doula.
Yeah,
You
but
did that.
it was learn as you go.
Your
Very,
family, right? You need someone that's not your family to be there to be your guide, right?
yeah,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
yeah, for
absolutely.
sure. But yeah, it was this is about living people. It's not about dying, but
Absolutely.
the death is to teach us, right? And to remind us about living. Yeah,
I
so
wish I
but
had met your mother, but I feel like I know her from your book. I feel like I felt her the other day when I met you. So a powerful woman
yeah,
guiding you. And I'm so excited about your journey and so inspired. And I hope everyone listening picks up your book.
thank
And,
you.
it opens up another world. So thank you
Yeah,
so, so
yeah,
much, Selena, for
yeah.
being
And
here
then we have printed copies. I have printed copies right now at Pacific Arts Market
today.
in
Okay.
Vancouver on Broadway in Granville. I have it at Renaissance Books in New Westminster. Of course, Infinite Serenity, that's kind of my home out here in Langley. And Dragonfly Gifts out in Harrison Hot Springs. And then soon to be, I'll have it in White Rock as well. So I'll have it in a number of locations around the lower mainland.
Great to
But
go.
we launched at Amazon at the end of this month, and I will get
You
that
left
link.
your corporate job, or this is your side gig? What's going on here? That's my last question to you.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Have you left your corporate gig, or is this?
No.
No, you do both.
I'm doing both for now until the universe tells me no.
Well, your book is going to be in 160 countries, so you might be able to give one up
Yeah. Yeah,
soon.
I'm very excited to see where that goes. And I'm open to what the universe brings. But it was a calling really to share this book, which I also wanted to let people know that I will be donating them to hospices around the Lower Mainland in their reading rooms so that people are able to read it too. Hopefully, it'll give you comfort to know that our soul lives on. This is not it, not over once our body goes, that our soul does live on, and that we get to help the people over here that we love on the other side. Yeah.
Beautiful book. Thank you so much and
Thank you.
congratulations. And I can't wait to see where you go even further with this. So, and I'd love to have you back again if you ever want to come back and share any other perspectives you have. So, thank you so much, Selena.
Well, and thank you very much. I appreciate you so much. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you.